Good afternoon, everybody. Hi there. I am Jane Tweedy from FAQ Business Training. Here today for another tea time tip, if I can get it around the right way. And one of the things we want to do is to help you avoid getting ripped off. Learn from us. So that's what we're here to do today, to teach you a few different things about saving some money and reducing expenses. And I thought this was particularly timely given that in New South Wales, the announcements today from Gladys and co were not great. It definitely sounds like we are going to end up in lockdown longer. Certainly for the next week, we're in a tighter lockdown than we've been so far. So that is not ideal. Things like reducing expenses and that for a lot of people is something that is probably a good idea to consider, because if you can save a little bit of money, then hopefully you can get through this nasty period. Let's get into this. Today, we're talking about reducing expenses and saving money. This is part of our Tea Time Tips series. What is Tea Time Tips? Tea Time Tips is about teaching you something. Lunch and learns are a longer session. Okay, so lunch and learn typically an hour. Tea Time Tips are designed to be about 15 minutes. 15 minutes just on a little tip just to help you in your business or your life and to get you going from there. So I share these on my Facebook page, FAQ Business Training, and also on LinkedIn as a live session on my profile, Jane Tweedy. And then afterwards, they will be loaded up to YouTube, and they'll also be on my website as a blog and vlog. So you'll be able to watch the video or read the transcript and have that available to you. So looking forward to that be happening soon. Unfortunately, the stay at home next week for school kids has put off my start of my new person, but that's okay. We'll get there. So disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. So please do seek independent advice from a financial advisor where necessary. However, I do know quite a bit about finance. I do hold a Master of Applied Finance, so I know a little bit about the topic. If you aren't watching it live, if you're watching on the replay, #replay, and we can go from there. To introduce myself very briefly, I am a small business owner myself. I have a couple of businesses that are live and active at the moment, FAQ Business Training and How to Job Search. My other business, Business Action Networking, is temporarily on hold because of all this COVID rubbish, and we will come back to that eventually. I'm also a business advisor with the New South Wales government-funded Business Connect program through the Western Sydney Business Centre. Big mouthful. Basically, that means you can get your first 4 hours of business advice at no cost, and then there's a few additional hours available at a $25 fee. Our former life was in corporate, lifelong learner, blah, blah, blah. Very unexciting. We'll skip this section because most of you know who I am anyway. So first of all, is it always a good idea to save money? Absolutely not. Because always, for a start, is a absolute word. It's a negative language word, which we don't want to use. So if you've got any queries about negative language, go back and watch Tea Time Tips 1, and we talked about negative language. So always is generalization or a distortion, which we need to avoid. So don't talk always. So is it always a good idea to save money? No. We also need to consider our risk and things like insurance. We need to know the risk and the opportunity cost of saving money. So sometimes we save money, but it actually costs us in the long run. So we don't want to be doing that. And we obviously have heard that adage, sometimes you need to spend money to make money. So am I saying you need to spend money, save money all the time? Absolutely not. However, there are situations when it's really good. When it's a really good situation, so for both Elisa and Linda, for instance, their businesses are affected by COVID. And during these times, it's a good time to sit down and go, okay, how can we cut back some of our expenditure so we're not wasting money? So when is it a good idea to save money? When you're living beyond your means. I met with someone recently and they were very much in that position. They were spending more money than they were getting in as a longer term thing over the course of a year or two or more. And that is going to cause them immense problems. They're already not able to pay their, mortgage every week. They're not able to pay things that they need to pay. Okay, so in that case, obviously you need to look at your expenditure. When you have medium or long-term goals and you have needs that outweigh the short-term. So, look at kids, for instance. If you give them pocket money, they tend to spend it on things like lollies because it's a short-term win, right? But longer term, that is not necessarily going to help them. So I'm not saying, don't enjoy the pleasures of life, but sometimes we need to make some sacrifices in the short term to get into the long-term success. When your financial future is uncertain and you're risk adverse, then saving money is a good idea, because you don't want to put yourself into that uncomfortable position where you feel really under pressure and under stress, because that's going to create mental health issues. It's going to create physical health issues, which is not a good thing in the long run. If you would like to save money for a rainy day, but do remember, this could be your rainy day. So maybe the money you have saved in the past, that is why you've saved it for this particular thing. So our reducing expenses guide that we've created is 30 pages worth of content with 74 different ideas. So there's plenty of options for everybody. There will be something in there that will save you some money. So what we're going to do is go through that. So in the comments for this, there was a place that you can go to download this guide. So you can basically, if you join our email list, we'll give you this guide for free. So if you go to that link, and basically what it will be doing is it will give you that guide, gives you some ways to save money. It's in different categories. And then what I suggest you do is share your successes. So if you've saved at least $100 by following one of these ideas, then if you share your successes on socials and tag our business with FAQ Business Save 100 as a hashtag, then we will also share that post to our audience as well, which helps to build awareness of what you're doing and what you're up to. So if you want to take advantage of that, please feel free. So what we're going to do now is I'll just bring up our guide. This is the guide that you're going to get if you sign up for the email. So it is how to reduce your expenses. So it's been updated. I first created this last year during the first lot of COVID, and now it's been updated for version 2. So some of the things that referred to obviously JobKeeper and that are no longer there. As I said, this is for business expenses primarily, but honestly, if you are just Joe Blogs, there is going to be a lot in here that will still help you anyway. So what I've done is obviously just given you a bit of general information to start with, but basically what it's done is broken into different categories. So there's just a bit of background and about the COVID implications on your businesses and things. Talks a bit about budgeting and cash flow forecasting and the fact that this is a good thing to do because a lot of businesses forget to do that. Then we can talk about various things we can do to reduce our expenditure, our outlay. So things like suppliers or rental costs. Things like banks and lenders. So the banks through the ABA, the Australian Banking Association, yesterday announced a bunch of new measures to help people. So basically they're reintroducing payment deferrals. So they're bringing in month-to-month payment deferrals for individual home loans. And they're also bringing in 3-month deferrals for business accounts. Your account has to be in good order before you start, or you have to be on a payment plan. So in good order on a payment plan or in good order as in you've been making your payments, but it may be worth reaching out to your bank and just seeing what packages they have available and what things they can do to help you, because it's obviously in their interest not to have people forced under during a short lockdown period, versus somebody that's got a bad business long term, right? They don't want to knock you off your perch because of something you can't control. So please reach out to them. Things like the fees for FPOS can be refunded for the last few months as well. So that was something they announced yesterday. So do reach out to your banks and see what they can do. Existing regular expenses is another key area, and we'll have a look at that. Even for me, I noticed recently that I had bought a kettle from Kogan, which allows me to get my teas very quickly between meetings because I can literally set the jug to start boiling on my phone, which is amazing. Smart kettle saves your life. It's awesome. I can do it in bed in the morning. So when I come out, my cup of tea is ready to go straight away. What Kogan had actually done, and maybe I noticed and maybe I didn't when I first signed up, but they signed me up to Kogan First or whatever their VIP program is. And then I noticed on my credit card statement, I was like, what's this $8 a month or whatever coming out of my credit card? I'm like, what is this? And it turned out it was the Kogan First payments. And I'm like, what the hell? I don't want to be a member of this. I'm not using it. And so I canceled it. But those little payments, I think it was $6 a month actually. So $6 a month over the course of the year, That's like $72. So it's $72 I'd rather have in my pocket than theirs. So little things like that are definitely worth doing. So one of the things I definitely suggest doing is checking your credit cards, PayPals, bank accounts, and check for any regular little payments that are going out that you've forgotten about or hadn't realized were happening. Because the thing was, they were emailing me, I think, about those payments, but because I send them off to a junk email, I didn't even know they were happening. And I was like, huh? So a really good way to get rid of those little annoying little niggly things. Reviewing your tech and your software, things that you may have needed at the start that you don't need any longer because maybe there's a different alternative version out there that's cheaper. Or it could be that the opposite. You actually need to spend the money on tech and software because that will actually save you money on staffing. And so a lot of us do that when we first start our businesses. We do workarounds. And workarounds are fine when you've got time. But when you don't have time, sometimes you need to save money to save you spending on time, which when you have employees, that time definitely costs you money. So that will actually physically save you money. So definitely look at your tech and your software. Things like the training in that you have and need. There's a lot of free training out there at the moment. Take advantage of it. Why not? But sometimes we need to, again, spend some money. That's fine. Spend it where it's necessary. But one of the things I talk to people about is a thing called procrastinating. And what some people do is they spend a lot of time and money investing in courses and doing courses, but they're only doing it to avoid something else. They're avoiding it because they don't want to start their business. They're avoiding it because of some other reason. So they're actually procrastinating, but they're doing it through learning. So therefore they feel better about it. But at the end of the day, it's still procrastinating. So please don't just sign up to courses for the sake of it. Sign up to courses because they actually genuinely are going to help you and you can get something out of them in the short term. Obviously, I mentioned the Save the Trap challenge at the end. So the background just talks about things like the fact that small things definitely add up. $10 here and there soon becomes hundreds of dollars per month and thousands of dollars a year. And if you do add up all those little subscriptions, you will definitely find there's some money savings in there. COVID has obviously caused massive impacts. Some people have had huge cost increases. Like the cost of gloves might have moved up from $4 to $27, like a box, which is huge. So do make sure you're reviewing your prices as well. And if your inputs have gone up, don't be afraid of raising your prices. You have to. If you don't stay in business, you're not doing anyone any favors. Budgeting and cash flow is really important. If you haven't done any budgeting or any cash flow, that's going to be an issue. And one thing I just want to highlight here is people that are sole traders, even some business participants, and particularly in things like partnerships, are going to have a nasty shock when they do their tax return. That JobKeeper money you got last year, right? Fortunately, it was split over 2 financial years. So it was $19,000 that first payment. So those of you that only got the first payment, you're looking at least $10,000 probably have gone into this financial year that's just finished. If it continued through to December, then you actually would have $29,000 worth of income. Now, as a sole trader, it doesn't go through the PAYG system, which means you haven't paid tax on that. So if you haven't kept money aside to pay your tax, you are going to get a nasty shock because that's going to be charged at your marginal tax rate. So say, for instance, if you were the up to December money and it was $29,000, then you are going to be looking at $18,000, say, tax-free, that you've got at least $11,000 you're paying 20 odd cents in the dollar for. Okay, so this is going to start adding up. So even at that kind of minimum amount, you're looking at a couple grand in a tax bill. So do bear this in mind. Some of you are going to face that bill coming up when you do your tax returns. So it may mean that you calculate your numbers for your tax return now, but maybe you hold off lodging to October. So it just gives you a bit more time to actually come up with the goods. Reducing expenses. There's a whole bunch in here about things about suppliers and rents and things like that. So please check that out and make sure you are contacting suppliers. It is much better to let them know how you're going and to arrange something than to just not pay people in that and cause flow-on effects for other businesses. So you can definitely look at that when you grab this guide. Banks and lenders, as I said, they've made some changes in the last few days, so please reach out to them for that. Transaction fees, look at whether you're doing the right thing. So for some transaction fees, you can, like Square and PayPal and stuff, you can pass on the cost directly to the customer, but it must be an exact match. It has to be an actual transaction charge. If you're using Afterpay, you can't charge that price to the customer, but you can build it into your overall prices. So if 30% of your customers use Afterpay, then you can build in a so many percentage increase in your price to cover that cost of Afterpay. So make sure that you're not just wearing these costs, because it's a benefit to your customers. Things like shopping, plan your shopping trips. Under the New South Wales lockdown laws today, you won't have a choice in that, because they're now changing it. You can't browse at the shops. You have to only have one person shopping per day and stuff. So they're actually bringing in new restrictions. So they haven't physically shut down the retail shops, but instead they've brought in things that are going to stop you being able to shop. So they've kind of, in some respect, shut down a lot more retail coming up for the next week at least. So just keep an eye on that one. Review your regular and existing bills. Make sure that there's still bills you need to pay. Things like electricity. I contacted Dodo, who was my supplier, and I got my discount increased from 15% to 30%. So that saved, quite a lot of money on my electricity bills. So simple things like that are literally one phone call and you're saving money. All sorts of things here we can save money on. So again, you can grab all this. Another one is existing insurances. Often we just pay our insurance. We just renew it. We don't think twice about getting quotes. I would recommend you do every few years, but also, for instance, car insurance. If you haven't been using your car, there's no point paying full comprehensive for that car that you're just not using at the moment. Hi, Sam. Yeah, the gloves are crazy priced, are they not? Like insane pricing. I don't know. Yeah, anyway, it's horrific. Some of the fees that have gone up for people. With insurance, go through brokers, a few different brokers, and get different prices off them. Or go through, like for car insurance, go through a comparison type tool. I found for my car insurance, I halved the cost of my car insurance by going to a limited kilometer plan. I'm not using my car keys at the moment, so that's fine. In fact, I did that when I had a work car and I didn't need my car. And so I've actually built up like something like, it was 10,000 Ks a year, but I think I've got like 35,000 Ks I could do, because I just changed the end odometer amount each year. They don't bother rechecking. So yeah, I've actually got plenty up my sleeve. Things like industry associations can potentially save you a lot of money on your insurance as well. So make sure you go to your industry association and check out, do they have cost savings or actual deals? For instance, the Tutoring Association, ATA, they have a deal where you pay, the $300 or whatever for membership, pay $300 for that insurance. You're now insured and have a year's membership with them and all their updates and stuff. For the person was quoted $2,500. So it was like from $2,500 down to $600. It was crazy. So definitely look at your industry associations, because they may be able to help you. So reviewing your tech and your software. Learn how to do basic web maintenance yourself. Things like adding blogs and photos and all that. Learn how to do it yourself, because it's costing you money every time you have to pay $200 for the web person to do it. But also, I've had somebody that their phone number was wrong, they realized, and it took 2 weeks for that to get updated. So that's 2 weeks worth of potential lost business because the phone was going to a disconnected number or something, because it was the wrong number. Things like you can, use stock sites that are free for your photos and stuff. Don't recommend that necessarily long term, but it can be a good starting point. Training and tasks that you can insource. So learn to do some stuff yourself. So I've got a webinar about quoting on my online school. Have a look at that. It's $9.90 if you do a lot of quoting. If you spend a lot of time speaking to people before you sign them up, have a look at that. It will save you, like that $9.90 fee, you will save it freaking 50, 100,000 times over, like so many times over by having a look at it. So changing processes is a really important thing. It will help you with what you're up to. There's also a blog in there about understanding sales tactics. And I would have a look at that blog too, because you might find that you are a victim to signing up for sales tactics that you just weren't aware were being used on you. So have a look at that blog. It's quite interesting. Tasks that you can insource. Maybe, you've been outsourcing accounting, but maybe you could bring some part of that function back in. So just looking at those things, again, not necessarily though. Some people will cost them more money to bring it back in-house than getting it done outside. So have a look at that. Outsourcing can save you money. So when you stuff up on things, you can do the wrong thing. So there's a whole section in this guide about us outsourcing. And then there's a whole lot of things about these actions that you can take. So what I've got here is I have the hashtag FAQ Business Save 100 Challenge. And what I would love for you guys to do, if you grab the guide off the website, as I said, it's free, you download it. If you do save $100 from something, I honestly ask you to share it with people. Use that hashtag and then we'll share it as well. And what we're going to do that way is we can get other people to know that there's ways to save money and to help them keep going in these really trying times for a lot of businesses. At the end, basically this kind of checklist. So basically what you can do is, if you like to have things printed out, you can print off these last 3 pages and it basically tells you what things that you've done and not done. So that way, if you're going, I'm struggling in business, I'm not coping really well, go through all of these and go, does it apply to me? Not applicable. But if it does apply, have you done something with it yet? So really help, that will really help you, I hope. Thanks, Christine. Hopefully this, there's something in here that will help you. Like I said, most people, if you look at this, you will be able to save at least $100. But for many of you, it would actually be a hell of a lot more than $100. Your to-do list from today, because I always like to set little to-do lists. You don't have to do this, but I would suggest it. Grab our guide. Like I said, it's available through the link that should have been on the thing about this session. Look through it and identify any no-brainers. So things like the Kogan thing where I was spending money on something I was definitely not using, that's a no-brainer. Just cut that straight away. Instant savings, $60 a year or whatever. Done, $70 a year. So cut those no-brainer things immediately. Do a more thorough consideration of other options. So something where you are spending quite a bit of money on something, work out whether it's actually generating results for you. So do a bit of a return on investment on it. As I said, you can share your savings to help other people, ideally with that hashtag, then I will help you as well. And if you need any further help, definitely reach out to me. I will be able to offer some further assistance. If you are in New South Wales, then obviously we are under this lockdown rules and everything, but I am a business advisor with the Business Connect program, so you can grab help through that program. So please reach out to me and I can hopefully offer you some more help with things going forward with your business. So the online school, like I said, does have a session about quoting. So if you are doing quoting in your business, I would suggest checking that out. Like I said, for $9.90, you're going to save a hell of a lot of money if you're doing quoting things wrong. And I do offer a lot of other services as well. So thank you so much for you guys that have checked in today to Tea Time Tips. We'll do more of these going forward. I'll do one next about alternative incomes, just ways that you can generate more money from your existing business. If you have got anything you want us to see covered in a future Tea Time Tip, please feel free to chuck them out at me because I really want to help people. Like, it's my personal mission in life to help 1 million people succeed in theirs. So that's my aim in life. So I really want to help people. If you need any help, if you've got any ideas for tips that you'd like us to cover in the future, please let us know. Otherwise, have a fabulous day. Unfortunately, it's a little bit grey clouded by the fact there are grey clouds outside and by what Gladys said this morning. Okay, thanks, guys. Thank you guys for checking in, and we will see you again in the future. Thanks all. Bye-bye. And cheers. I think I need more than just tea.